Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm Raffi, your host, as always, joined by Davian and Theodore. Boys, before I ask you guys how you guys are doing, I just want to mention something real quick in the sports world that's going on, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. Pickleball, as we've brought up before, I believe we discussed this before, is just the new wave that's occurring in the sports world with leisurely activities. Me being a bowler and now getting into golf, I'm full blown into the old man activity. So don't be surprised if I start to play pickleball as well. Play in gym. I saw this highlight online, and I've seen this before. The pickleball games are so weird. There's like flashing lights pregame. There's this crazy crowd. You think it's like the Super Bowl, and two pickleball players, they're playing in like a cage. And it's like you think that they're like going to the depth. It's like two pickleball players go in, and only one comes out. This is getting kind of ridiculous. I think it's starting to become like a culty thing, but I didn't want to talk about that because pickleball is just kind of the new thing right now. I haven't seen something this big in America since like avocados.
True that. I mean, hey, Cricket League is starting up too, and Slam Ball is back. I mean, that's awesome.
That I'm happy about.
Yeah,
that was great.
Theodore,
me and my boy Thomas, we'd wake up during the school year.
No way.
Every other Saturday at 7 a.m., we'd go to the elementary school. He'd bring his pickleball rackets, and we'd play pickleball. Good too.
Nah, that's wild.
Of pickleball.
Bro, I'd be like, yo, let's go play a pickup game of pickleball.
Look, it is fun. And we'd like run into random 40, 50-year-old couples and get absolutely smoked by them because they're just way too good at this game. It was a big shock to my ego, but it's a really fun sport. Look, and this kid, his family, multimillionaires, I love them, but he's rich. He plays this in the Hamptons on Long Island all the time, so I never stand a chance against him. So I'm basically his practice dummy out there. But it is a fun sport, and I wouldn't tune in and ever watch a pickleball game, but I appreciate people that do, and maybe one day I'll be playing professional pickleball.
It's so crazy because I'll go biking around, and there's just so many tennis courts that have been turned into pickleball courts, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, good for people to be getting out there and being active. Now, the downside is insurance companies are having to pay a ton of money because of the people that get pickleball related
$500 million of injuries.
Which is, with all due respect, I hope that people are okay, but that's absolutely hilarious. But Davian, how are you? I see you're rocking a very mid hat as it's the Patriots. So
bro, we're on top, man. Look, the great thing about Patriots training camp is that you never know if the offense is bad or the defense is good. You see, because usually it used to be damn, no, it's our defense is really good, because the offense wouldn't play on par with them. But nowadays, you really don't know because the Patriots are so just not that good. So yeah, I've been interested in training camp. What's been going on there? Saquon finally got paid. Kind of, not really. He should be getting more, but I'm sure the running back union, I guess I like to call it now, will kind of negotiate that out. But other than that, I've been good. I actually watched lacrosse the other day, and I have to say, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to watch. I watched it on I think it was the PLL, right? I think it's professional. Yeah.
I believe
so it was actually really fun to watch. And since I'm going to Cornell, and Cornell has had back-to-back years, number one picks have come from our lacrosse program. I think it's pretty impressive. Got to start off with that college talk soon. I know that. So it's been fun. So I've been all right. I'm skydiving tomorrow. I'll let you guys know about that. Next week. But yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, I have no right to say this, but at least University of Illinois has a good basketball program. We went from your thing is lacrosse, and then it's just Theodore was going to the University of Alabama.
All time.
Good football, great basketball now, and really
we have hockey though. Okay, we do have hockey.
I do respect that because Cornell does have a good hockey, and you're in that great area near Massachusetts where you're gonna have a ton of fun going to a lot of those games. So I hope you at least record some videos because I gotta see some of those videos because that's gonna be awesome. Let's get into some of the quick news before we get into the main chunk of what we want to discuss today. First off, Joel Embiid. This is gonna be a little quick, but there's apparent news that he might want out, that he might get traded, etc. I did see a rumor that he might be going to the Knicks. I did see a rumor that he might be going to the Thunder.
Luckily, it's not happening.
We have two people, one representing the Thunder, one representing the Knicks. I'd like to hear if you guys would like Joel Embiid, you guys think it's feasible? Do you guys think he gets moved? And would you guys like him on your team? Obviously, the answer is yes, but depending on like the package, obviously.
No and no. He's not moving from the team. Second off, if he can't he's chasing a ring, but he's like trust the process. And all of a sudden he's not trusting the process, right?
The process has been dead for 4 years.
Right, exactly. He's gonna end up like somebody like Kyrie, always just wanting to demand a trade. Like nobody wants that on your team. Beyond that, I mean, also think about Damian Lillard has still yet to get traded, and we're already in August, almost August. So it's honestly, with these NBA trade speculations, I just start ignoring them because they're so it's just not true at this point. Closer to the draft, yeah, maybe I'll tune in just to hear and see. But it's just end of July, and we're thinking Embiid will get traded. It's not happening.
Yeah. All right. First of all, Raffi, I take one show off, and now you don't even ask me how I'm doing in the beginning. Just get right.
I did ask how you were doing. You can watch this video again. I did ask you how you were doing.
I feel like a second-class citizen on the show. I leave the country, and now they don't respect me anymore.
Theodore needs some distance. He said
you don't respect any of
from the group.
You don't respect non-American.
Going to Alabama wasn't enough space for us.
I'm going to go.
He has to go to another country to prove his point.
Like the NFL running backs, we're all going to start holding out until I get my respect. But
Theodore's going to go on a Zoom call. He's going to go on to a Zoom call with
going on strike.
Our TikToker, our resident
being an awesome
TikTok
expert, chilling, just talking.
Comment down below if you support Theodore's strike.
Yeah, I need all the supporters I can get.
I'm all for strikes. I love strikes, but that's a bowling joke. But
okay, let's ignore strikes for now, and let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's first of all, I did not even realize this was a thing until Raffi gave it to me 5 minutes before the show started. And the reason I haven't heard anything is because there's no merit to it. Embiid has no real interest in leaving the Sixers. This is exactly what Davian said. It's people looking for a story out of nothing. He is, in about 2 years, I could see him leaving the Sixers. But for now, why would he? And even if he did, I wouldn't really want the Thunder getting him. We don't need Embiid. We have Chet Holmgren. He is a beast. He is the future of our team. Don't laugh at me. He may be small, but he is a superstar. So just let Chet Holmgren become
he's not small. He's not small. Also, another quick thing, too, apparently from the news, because I pay attention. I get my basketball sources from the news, so obviously you can tell how reliable I am. Bring up the Joel Embiid thing. Wembanyama, I think it's very clear from all the research I've done that he's an absolute bust. I think it's very clear from just my large NBA IQ. So we won't even need to delve into that. He's a bust. I think we all can agree on that. Obviously, that's a joke.
Absolutely.
Moving on to
I agree. I agree. Unironically, I think Wembanyama is nothing special.
We'll revisit this.
I mean, come on. He hasn't even played a game of basketball.
So stop saying he's the next LeBron.
So to be fair,
that's a bit much.
To be fair, we'll leave this where it is. But Theodore was not on the Wembanyama hype train before he did get drafted. So let's give Theodore a little bit of credit here, because although at least he didn't see him play in the G League and was in the Summer League and was just immediately writing him off, he had some merit before then. So I'll give Theodore the benefit of the doubt.
Wembanyama might be my next Kyler Murray. I'm just floating this out there now. It might reach that level at one point.
Oh boy!
Damn.
Oh boy! Watch out, DMs. Watch out, Victor Wembanyama. You might want to block Theodore as soon as you can, because Theodore is going to be relentless in those DMs, and not in a good way. Moving on to something that did happen in the NBA world, so I feel good about at least talking about this. Jaylen Brown got absolutely paid. Now, Theodore, I know you were talking about this a couple of months ago about the potential of him potentially getting moved in a larger trade by the Celtics to improve the team. Obviously, Jaylen Brown's not sticking around for a little bit. You guys' thoughts before we continue on?
Look, at first, my initial reaction was basically everyone else's, where what are they doing? Why are they paying this man $300 million? But at the end of the day, you look at it, it's not a bad contract. I mean, everybody is getting paid. Contracts keep rising and rising. For context, 7 years ago, Mike Conley signed a $154 million contract. It was the biggest contract in NBA history. Now, I mean, Fred VanVleet's making $150 million in 3 years.
Yeah,
money's just going to keep rising, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in about 3 years is probably going to be making $400 million in his contract. So it's a bubble right now where contracts across all sports are just going to keep rising and rising. Eventually, it'll burst. I don't think that day is anytime soon. So I wouldn't even bother getting surprised by any of the money being thrown around right now.
That's something in the NHL too, and I think it's difficult when I see people. It's hard for me to grasp when people are comparing a contract that's been signed now and they're comparing that to other players who have signed contracts over the past few years. Because at the end of the day, as you mentioned, like the Mike Conley contract was the highest paid contract, but you pay that much money knowing that in the next few years the salary cap's going to rise, and that contract, just like how we see with the quarterback market, there's always going to be, as the salary cap goes up, players will get paid more. If you're around the same range of players, it all depends on what year you become a free agent or your contract expires, because you might get paid even more than another player putting up the same points, same rebounds, same everything. But if you get that the salary cap goes up a little more when you become a free agent in comparison to another player whose contract expired the year before, you're going to get paid more money than them just because of the pure fact that the salary cap is going to rise. So that's something where when people try to compare contracts, that's something that I feel like goes under the wayside and people don't really consider too much when meanwhile they really should. Davian,
yeah, Raffi, don't forget, Patrick Mahomes just 3 years ago signed a 10-year, $500 million contract. We were all in awe. And now he's only the 7th highest paid QB in the NFL. Like, it's absurd.
Yeah, but don't forget, now these contracts, I think basketball will have like an NFL moment where they're gonna have like running backs, especially like you see the running backs, they're not getting paid, right? Because people are realizing that like running backs are extremely replaceable. Like you look at the 49ers, you look at the Falcons, they're always brought up as an example of this. You know, you don't buy into these like running backs, you don't pay like, X amount for them. I think that's gonna happen in NBA. I think in hockey, like you kind of see that as well, but it to a lesser extent. I think that and especially the quarterback market, you see a lot of these contracts are extremely incentive based. And I think that's what's going to happen in basketball as well, because you see these players and sometimes they really just don't live up to the hype. So I really think it's going to be incentive based. And at the same time, like Theodore, I think we got to realize as well, like not all of these players who break the market are getting they're not all just because one person might break the market doesn't mean that the market breaks with them. Like I know that analogy doesn't make sense, but take a look at Deshaun Watson, right? When that contract came out from the Browns, everyone was like, "That's it. The quarterback market's destroyed." Like everyone's gonna everyone's gonna be demanding Deshaun Watson money. But when we look at Lamar Jackson, right, when he was demanding such money, he didn't get it. He got incentive based. He got massive guarantee. But at the end of the day, it's really incentive based. I mean, one thing I don't understand is why the rookie contracts lately are all like guaranteed money. I forgot which quarterback just signed it, but this rookie quarterback just got drafted, signed a fully guaranteed contract for 4 years.
Stroud did, I think.
Right, Stroud, yeah. It's like that doesn't make any sense to me. This guy has yet to prove himself. He hasn't even played.
But at the same time, and here's the thing, and here's why every sport is so different. In the NFL, there is about a total of 5% chance that CJ Stroud's contract will ever end up hurting the team. Because the fact of the matter is, CJ Stroud, best case scenario, he goes out and he takes the league by storm. It's like the next Mahomes and all that. And in that case, he's the best bargain. But as Josh Rosen proved a couple of years ago, he could go out and be the worst football player to ever touch grass, and the team could still move on from the contract, trade him somewhere else just because he was once a highly coveted prospect.
True.
I think the thing, too, is with the NHL, the difficulty with players getting paid and that pay raise increasing constantly is we're seeing that more often now. Players are starting to get more now that the salary cap's going up. But goaltenders, that's always been a hot topic of how much do you pay a goalie? Obviously, you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, Colorado Avalanche. Those are teams that have not had insanely good goaltending. Darcy Kemper for the Avalanche. This past season, the Vegas Golden Knights went through 5 goalies. Aiden Hill stepped into the playoffs, led the Vegas Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup. So goaltending has always been a hot topic with hockey. Do you pay a goalie? Do you not? Obviously, when you have a great player like Shesterkin and you have him on a great contract, that's one thing. Islanders decided to pay a lot more money for Sorokin, who's a top 5 goaltender. Then you have those guys like Vasilevsky, though, where Tampa won back-to-back cups. obviously was largely impacted by Vasilevsky. So paying all that money for a guy like Vasilevsky, that makes more sense. It's also hard for the NHL too, where Connor McDavid is such by far the best player in the NHL, where it's kind of hard to really go above that. But once again, with the salary cap going up now, Nathan McKinnon's making $100,000 more than Connor Bedard, and Austin Matthews is now expected to get paid $1 million more on his next contract. Another thing too that we won't discuss here, but I'll definitely make a TikTok or YouTube video about this. The current state of the NHL, where we're seeing players like Austin Matthews and Alex Brinkett and other high-end players starting to sign contracts that are only 4 to 5 years, short-term contracts, knowing that the salary cap is going to go up even more in the exponential rate. So players want to say, okay, let me cash in now, and in a few years, while I'm still in my prime, I can make even more money going forward. So that's something that I'll talk a bit more in depth. We will leave that for another podcast during the offseason.
Wait, Raffi, is that why Tarasenko signed a 1-year deal?
Yes. So that's a big thing right now, where this current offseason, the cap is currently still at 83.5. Now it is expected to go up to 87.5 this upcoming season and go upwards of $90 million the year after. There's a lot of big free agents in this upcoming one and the year after. It's absolutely loaded free agency class. So as we saw with Domi, Bertuzzi, as you brilliantly mentioned, Tarasenko, I'm very glad that you mentioned that signing. Great signing for the Senators. A lot of players taking 1-year contracts knowing salary cap's going to go up by $4 million. If I just prove myself this upcoming year, I'm going to get paid on a long 3, 4, 5-year deal, and I'm going to make a lot more money than what I'm currently signed for. So a lot of
players are risking their careers as well, right? Because technically it's them going for a long-term contract. But
that's why there's that range too of a player where you got to be realistic with your expectations. But if you're a guy like Tarasenko, Patrick Kane, for example, when he's back 100% healthy, he will be signing a 1-year deal 100%. Domi, Bertuzzi, guys who already have proven themselves quite well in the NHL to be solid top 6 players. If they can have another good season, hopefully not get injured, they will get paid absolutely come this upcoming free agency class. Let's move on though.
I'm gonna stop you right there. We can't talk about contracts without bringing up the fact that Mbappe was just offered $775 million to play soccer for 1 year. We got to bring that up, right?
We should.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a joke.
He's not going to sign. He's not going to sign at the end of the day. But it's just a clear attempt by Saudis and Saudi Arabia to try to bring in very high-end talent. They brought in Benzema. Obviously, they brought in Ronaldo. They're trying to bring in some of the older players who once were very good. I believe Iniesta is also potentially going, or no, he was potentially going to Inter Miami. Sorry, I'm getting myself mixed up. But regardless, Saudi Arabia is trying to bring in Mbappe. I think at the end of the day, I believe what a lot of people are believing and speaking into existence, which is he's likely going to go to Real Madrid. But I do get PSG's point here. You don't want to lose one of the best players and one of the upcoming faces of soccer for absolutely nothing this upcoming come the transfer portal next year.
It's not like they didn't give him, like, they gave him an insane contract. Like, they gave him, like, a Messi level contract, like, before that contract type even existed. So, like, as we know, like, now we know that Messi's contract was discussed for the past 3 years about him having part, like, ownership. Like, basically, when Messi was first rumored to sign with the MLS, they were saying that he was going to have part ownership of the team. That's what Mbappe has right now. He owns a stake of PSG. He has, like, basically, let's say they hire a new manager, it has to be approved by Mbappe. So it's like, you know, like, he has a crazy good contract now. I doubt, like, I'm not surprised he, you know, doesn't want to go to the Saudi league because he's still in his prime. He still has something to prove. And if he's really chasing after the greats of Messi and Ronaldo, you know, you're taking 1 year of your prime to play in the Saudi league where you're not going to be playing the Champions League. You know, he doesn't have a Champions League, championship under his belt. That's something that every player, especially if you're trying to prove yourself, kind of need. So, you know, I definitely see Real Madrid as like a definitely place to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if he stays either.
Yeah, and the big problem too with Mbappe's current situation with PSG is the fact that the French league has been highly regarded as a farmers league. It is run by PSG, so winning all those league titles with PSG only does so much to really help you out at the end of the day, just because PSG is so far better than everyone else in that league. So going to a more competitive, where you have that rivalry, Real Madrid with Barcelona, you're joining a better team in theory as well. And obviously, as you mentioned, the Champions League titles are one of the big things, along with Ballon d'Ors, but that's more of a personal thing. those Champions League titles are going to be really important. And when you go to a team like Real Madrid, where he's been rumored to go to numerous times over the past couple of years, I think it's really going to work out for Real Madrid. Again, Saudi Arabia trying to do their best to bring in players. I get it. Definitely want to keep building that league. I'm happy that they're doing that. I'm glad the U.S. is bringing in Messi and trying to bring in other faces to the MLS. I think it's good for the sport as a whole, but it was certainly crazy when I initially saw the headline of Mbappe getting, or at least them accepting a transfer fee. Which, again, it's good business by PSG. I know a lot of people don't like that, but at the end of the day, if someone goes up to you and says, I would like your employee for $700 million to talk with him potentially, like, you're not going to say no to that at the end of the day. You're going to, especially if you know in hindsight, okay, like, this player might leave. Another thing, too, before we move on, is the main reason why Mbappe also is not leaving currently is he currently has a loyalty fee, or not loyalty fee, but a loyalty bonus that he'll be getting, in, I believe, in October or November. So that's $90 million plus another bonus as well. So if he's going to be leaving to another place, he's going to be wanting to make that money and more. So
I mean, they'll probably give him that money. You know what I mean? Like whatever
team
he leaves to.
PSG doesn't really want to pay that money. Mbappe clearly wants to stay so he can get that money, and rather than losing out on like 90 plus, 100 plus $1 million. So that's something to consider as well when looking at this scope. Moving on, a little bit about the World Cup. U.S. drew versus the Netherlands. That was kind of shocking.
Yeah,
Davian, any thoughts so far about the Women's World Cup?
Yeah, so I mean, like, look, I think what we saw in the first game against Vietnam was just really like disorganization, but like a ton of shooting, and
they dragged us into the trees again.
Yeah, I mean, they really just went crazy against Vietnam, but there was no technique in it. They wouldn't really have like offensive attacks. It was mostly just like, all right, let's just kick the ball at the goal. Let's just kick the ball at the goal. Like at times you saw some like flashy moves, some like drawn up moves, like you kind of like what a coach would tell you to do. But I felt like a lot of times it was like fifth graders just like, playing soccer, like World Cup soccer, where everyone, you get the ball, you just shoot it at goal and you just hope it goes in, right? That's what I kind of felt against Vietnam. I didn't watch the game against the Netherlands because I was at a League Cup match, which is, for those who don't know, it's how MLS teams, so like U.S. American soccer teams play Liga MX teams. Liga MX is the league down in Mexico. The two leagues play against each other and for a championship, kind of like the Champions League, but of America. But going back, I didn't watch it, but I read a bit about it, and I looked at the stats. The first half, America played the same way they played against Vietnam, but they just were very disorganized. But like the Netherlands team is just a much better team.
They really did control the possession in the first half.
Right, and so Netherlands controlled possession the entire game. But the thing is, in the second half, we just turned up and just started shooting like crazy at goal, and we came apparently within like hair lengths of being able to score like a second, third, and fourth goal. So, I guess kind of unlucky in that sense. But overall, I'm very impressed with the team simply because I was worried that these the young stars wouldn't be able to step up, like Rodman, like Smith, but really they have. And, as like the old guard kind of like fades away of like Carlo Lloyd, like even Alex Morgan,
Megan Rapinoe,
Megan Rapinoe, and the others kind of get older. It's good to see the young stars playing so well.
Yeah, my big concern, and then we'll move on, is the fact that the U.S. wasn't able to convert on their chances. They had a wide variety of chances, as you mentioned, Davian, but it seemed like they had a lot of trouble doing the most important thing in a soccer game, which is playing the ball in the net. They had a lot of high quality, high danger chances, but they need to finish on their opportunities. If they can finish on those, they're going to be putting up almost 10 goals every single night. Obviously, that's not how soccer works. Balls go different ways. But if the USA can execute on some of their chances, they'll look really good. Theodore, in Panama right now.
Yeah.
Does anybody care about the Women's World Cup?
No, and here's the thing. I appreciate the analysis. Nobody seriously cares about this event. Come on, guys. Panama is a soccer-crazed country. This is their thing. This is what they care about. This is what everyone watches. I haven't seen it on a single television. I haven't seen it in a single newspaper. I haven't heard a single person talking to it. Nobody cares about the Women's World Cup, and that is just the state of soccer right now. Come on, guys.
Well, it's getting more views in the League Cup, but that's just
no one cares about the League's Cup either.
Hey.
When you bring
NYCFC won
nations,
5-0 yesterday. It was an amazing game, all right? So
when you bring in nationalities into it, then you start to up the tension. So more people are going to watch. Just because it's like USA, like obviously I'm going to watch it just because I
Look,
love
I'm
the
glad
US.
we
I
got
like
a
watching this
revenge
one.
against Vietnam.
yeah, I mean, the U.S. Women's World, like the reason why like Women's World Cup is gonna do well is because so many Americans are gonna watch the women's team because the American team, like, yeah, they're good, they are very good, but like their success relative to like the other men's teams is not on par to like the success of the women's teams. Like apparently, like the U.S. women's team hasn't missed the semifinal since so this tournament started in the 90s, right? They didn't miss the semifinal till the last Olympic Games where they missed the semifinal. Like that's how good they've been. And I think that just as an American, you want to see America win, and that's what the Women's World Cup really brings to.
Absolutely. Moving on to the final thing. We're just rolling through things today. This has been a very rare for late July, but it's been a very news-packed past 2 weeks. So we want to talk about as many things as possible. MLB trade deadline's happening in the next few days. As this podcast will go out, it will be right before the MLB trade deadline.
We want Ohtani.
What do you guys think, first off, about the Yankees? Should the Yankees buy? Should they sell? And also, should the Angels look to move Ohtani? I was talking to one of my friends who's an Angels fan. They're happy that they're holding him and going all in. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. You guys think it's a good idea? Do you guys think it's a bad idea? I clearly don't think the Angels plan on trading him, but I just want to know if you guys think it's the right decision or not.
No and no. Why? Because look, the Yankees are in such a bad spot where they can't buy in to Ohtani, right? But they also can't because they're just like not that good. But they also can't sell the team because nobody's been playing well. Like you can't sell Stanton, you can't sell these players because they just haven't been performing well. I look at the Mets as well. Like they're also just like not that they haven't been doing well either. Like both of these teams are stuck with these like really good, supposedly good players that just haven't been playing well because the team itself hasn't been playing well. I think it's gonna be a very quiet MLB trade deadline. I think there's just overhyped the same way every trade deadline is in every single sport. There's some people saying the Padres are gonna sell like every single one of their stars. Like that's not gonna happen. Ohtani's staying. There's the Angels wouldn't actually want to sell someone who's the star of the team. Yeah, those are my thoughts. I got nothing else to say. MLB trade deadline's gonna be a dud.
The Mets are so bad, and the Padres.
So are the Yankees, man. So are the Yankees. I'm a Yankees fan saying this.
Padres fans really thought that this year they were going to take that next step, and it just does not happen.
The next step backwards, yeah.
I'm not going to laugh at the Mets. I'm not going to laugh at the Padres. I'm not going to laugh at anything. The only team that should be laughed at right now is the New York Yankees because we are an absolute joke. Brian Cashman might be the most overrated individual to ever set foot in the state of New York. How is this man still employed? Come on. He took over in 1998. So when he took the job as GM, we already had our core four. We already were, going to win the pennants regardless of who was general manager. He didn't deliver us that initial success. And we've basically been slinging him along for now 22 years. And in that time, in the past 22 years since we won back in 99, I believe, we have won World Series. One World Series in 22 years. We are the New York Yankees. Other teams may be happy with that. We should not be happy with that. Yeah, I get the fact that we're always contenders, but
nobody cares about contenders. We care about winning.
We care about winning. Thank you, Davian. And Cashman should be fired. And the reason he's not fired is because Hal Steinbrenner has no spine. He is a horrible owner. You're talking about selling players off. He should just go and sell the team because he is not devoted to being a Yankees owner. He's not his father. We shouldn't be at this point debating on whether or not we should pull the trigger for Ohtani. Because the Yankees in the past, it would have been no question. We would be doing whatever it takes to get this guy. We'd be doing whatever it takes to get even a guy like Juan Soto, who possibly will be available,
Nolan Arenado, for example, as well.
Arenado, yeah. the fact that the only big deadline move we've made in recent history is Joey Gallo. Like,
Yeah.
come on. We got Rizzo at the deadline, too. That was a good one a couple years back. But
Yeah.
World
do
Cup
not make the
champion
moves.
Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah. Cashman doesn't make
World
good
Series.
trades either. Gio Urshela is still a baller. He would be a perfect third baseman on our team right now, and instead we traded him for Josh Donaldson. Like, nothing this team does works out, You look at this team, what do we have? We have Aaron Judge. We have another, 8 years of Aaron Judge dominating. I can't hate on that. Stanton, whatever. He's a power hitter. He's never going to be an incredible MVP caliber player anymore, but he still has a lot of value. I fully believe that Volpe is a future superstar. I'm fully on the hype train. We got some decent prospects. But we should be willing to give so much up right now. We should be willing to pull the trigger on that big trade. Have our big Yankees moment. Start working towards that next dynasty. And it just sickens me that we're not, and that the fans have all just accepted that we're not. It's a horrible time to be a Yankees fan. We may have a winning season for the next 50 years at this point, because the Yankees have had a losing season since the early 90s at this point, and whatever. It's cool to always be in the mix. I want a World Series. I want this team to do something to bring me a World Series, and they're not, and it's horrible, and I hate being a Yankees fan right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about how the Yankees have arguably the deepest pockets in the MLB by far, the fact that they're not making those big splashes is definitely a slap in the face to ownership right now, definitely to the general manager as well. Normally, I am always on the line of trying to keep going through this is the definition of insanity. You're just going to lead yourself into a barren prospect pool. You're going to need a big rebuild, blow it up. But the Yankees,
the Yankees can't rebuild. They have nothing to rebuild with.
Blackhawks, Red Wings, a lot of hockey teams, basketball teams. The Yankees they can spend as much money as they want, basically, to build a super team. And they're not willing to give the assets. They're not willing to spend the money on those high-end guys, and it's biting them in the butt. And honestly, this is the one example where I put an asterisk, throw away what I said in the past. The Yankees, you're the Yankees. You have deep pockets. It's like the Angels. You guys should be doing more to get your team into a higher spot in contention. And that's the bottom line. Cubs right now, 4.5 games out of the playoffs. I want them to bye. They're winning currently right now. Versus, I believe, it's the Cardinals. Yes, they're playing bad teams down the stretch, but I still think it's fun to buy. Why not? But I agree with you guys on the Yankees. I think if you're the Yankees, you guys need to be buying. You guys need to be trying to do whatever you guys can to better your team, because you guys are the New York Yankees. And as much as I like making fun of the Yankees for constantly losing in the playoffs, I enjoy it quite much. You got it.
We can't buy anyone.
You got to make
anything.
Do something. Just
we
show
can't do anything, though. We have nobody that we could actually use.
We have prospects.
But if you have, it's one thing.
Prospects aren't good either.
At the end of the day, if you're the New York Yankees, and if I was a Yankees fan, I'd much rather see the Yankees make a couple big splashes and they don't pan out than the Yankees doing nothing and just sitting.
We have enough.
That's why we don't have good prospects.
No, Spencer Jones is an absolute beast. I worked with this guy probably about 30 games this year at the Renegades. He is a future All-Star.
Theodore's been training him.
Yeah. Drew Thorpe, this pitcher for the Renegades, has been lighting up. He's been throwing one-hitters. His ERA is under 2 a single A. He's a guy that people are going to want to trade for. Jason Dominguez, I'd be willing to trade him at this point. Peraza has a ton of value still. Even Cabrera at this point still is a guy that teams would like to acquire. I don't want to hear any excuses as to why we can't make the deal. We are the Yankees. We make it happen. And here's my problem.
We really haven't, though.
Ryan Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, and the fan base are acting like we are a normal MLB team. Even if we were the San Francisco Giants or any other squad, I'd understand this mindset. We are the Yankees. Just do whatever it takes. Make it happen. I don't want to hear any excuse.
Absolutely.
We're
going to leave
mediocrity that the Giants were in for years, basically.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. But we'll leave it right there, unfortunately, because we're running a little long. Obviously, we had great conversation, so it is what it is. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut it somewhere, and unfortunately, that's going to be right now. But we hope you enjoyed this edition of the podcast. I enjoy making fun of the Yankees. I hope everyone watching also is enjoying watching the downfall of the Yankees. For Theodore, for Davian, who I hope are doing well, and I did ask them how they're doing well at the start of the podcast, so
You
Theodore
did not.
did that earlier in the show. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Benchwarmer for sports, for more sports content, and hopefully more Yankees meltdowns as well in the near future. So for Theodore, for Davian, as I mentioned earlier, I'm Raffi. We hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day.
Peace.